This is one of my favorite views. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's like multiple levels of hills and mountains, and as they get further out, the color diminishes, and it just looks really pretty. Of course, the camera does not do it justice. I came up here to get a little bit. Oh, let me just scratch. I'm sure that sounded lovely. I came up here to get a little bit of whatever was remaining of the heat from the day, but that is going to be nothing. See? And over there we've got more mountains and hills covered with trees. Places I'd like to explore one day. For now, we are going to read some Pete Walker, and yeah, I don't mind the look. I don't mind the look of the rust here in Mexico. You're gonna find like lots of strange looking things. Things are not always done to code. Things are not done appropriately here. But you know what? I came here for the sun. And when I tell you that I wouldn't say I'm freezing. I'm not freezing yet. I'm probably going to be freezing tonight. Right now, I am just kind of chilly. I have sweatpants on. Yeah, I'm not cold yet. I'm just chilly because it's like 23 degrees right now instead of the usual 30. And yeah, if it got down to 20, then I'd be officially freezing. And I'm not complaining because I know that in Calgary it's like much worse. So anyway, yesterday I made that video about my experience with the cat. And we call that transference or projection, right? That's when we're feeling some emotions towards someone that are too strong for the situation, and we're kind of realizing that it's coming from somewhere else. And this is an experience this looks really shabby. Okay. This is an experience that can really negatively affect all of your relationships in life. Most people never realize it, right? They have a boss that they hate, not realizing that the boss is bringing up feelings of their overbearing parents, or, like I previously had spoken about in other videos. I had an ex who would sit there and chit chat on the phone with a neutral expression with his mother, and hang up the phone and look at me with hatred. And I'm like, oh hell no, that's not happening. You're not going to be nice and sweet little boy to your mom and then take out your anger on me, right? Most people cannot direct their anger to where it belongs, which is, for the majority of us, our parents. Okay? And when we haven't fully, dealt with it, which is normal, I mean, it's extremely difficult, right? Then we start looking for outlets for it. For most people, it's their children, road rage, bosses, clients at work. And that was what was happening to me with my cat. And so we're going to read this chapter in the Complex PTSD Bible about how to deal with it and how this man in the story dealt with it on his own. And I love this. The first time I read it, I'm like crying. It's just weird. Like I think I mentioned, some of you know that when I first started reading this book, I was like, I don't know if this book applies to me. And then after literally the first chapter, I was paralyzed. I was like in bed for a week, just like crying and like just feeling so exposed and seen and understood and scared. I'm like, whatever this book is about, it's me. This is what I went through. And I just want to say that if you're watching or listening to this video, you are someone who has been damaged by your parents. Now, the reason your parents were like that is because they were damaged by their parents. But they did not have the insight or the access or the courage to get into the self-awareness space to say, this way I'm behaving is not appropriate and I need to do something about it, right? So maybe you're the first in your family, kind of like me, and it's really difficult. You should have support, but instead, usually you just get faced with criticism, ostracism, and your life becomes significantly more difficult on the surface than people who decide to play by the rules and stay within the dysfunction. However, the prizes that you gain are internal. They come in the form of dignity, true self-knowledge, of living a life with integrity, and with causing less harm to other people, including yourself. And with this can come realized talents, skills, true God-given birthrights, things about you that you came here to do or to be or to actualize. And I'm proud of you. And even though I'm sure you feel very alone, you're not alone. There's a bunch of people like us all around the world, and we gather in places like this, on videos like this, in comment sections like this. So yeah, hello to you. All right, let's begin reading. Road Rage, Transference, and the Outer Critic. Let us take another look at how the outer critic displaces anger from the past onto present-day relationships. My client Johnny came in for his session boiling with road rage. Something infuriating had just occurred on his drive to my office. Before his butt hit the couch, he launched away. That pompous SOB. People are so obnoxious. Everyone drives like they're the only ones on the road. What a jerk. Driving like he owns the whole road. Not giving a shit about anyone but himself. Nobody cares about anybody but themselves. Oh God, don't let me get started on my wife. I don't know why I get out of bed in the morning. This jerk must have forgotten what turn signals are for. I felt like crashing right into that stuck-up bastard and his shiny new Beamer. Johnny radiated anger, a full 360 degrees. He hated the driver who had cut him off, all the other drivers on the road, his wife, his employees, his neighbors, the government. Sorry. And last, but thankfully least, his overcharging therapist, who was always pretending to be so empathetic. This is really funny. This guy sounds like me. Johnny was a fawn fight type. Usually he was mostly fawn. In our 2 years of working together, I had never seen him so enraged, and I was quite taken aback. I was indeed straining to hold an empathic position, but I knew he was in a flashback. I encouraged him to further ventilate by hitting a tennis racket on a cushion. This is a classic anger release work technique for externalizing anger in a non-harmful way. Johnny beat it like his life depended on it. When his catharting petered out, I asked him to close his eyes. I then suggested that he ask himself if his feelings of outrage had a trail into the past. After a moment, he said, "I'm so mad. I don't want to do anything that you say right now. And it's weird because I know you're fishing for my father, but I keep thinking of my mother. She was such a wimp. She'd never drive like that asshole in the Beamer, and she didn't rant and rave at me like he did, but I just feel so pissed at her for putting up with him for all those years, never once standing up for me or protecting me. It's bad enough I got him for a father, but it's even more unfair that I got her too." Johnny did another round of venting with the tennis racket. I thought mothers were programmed to stick up for their kids. Like that mother bear shit. It's so unfair. It's so unfucking unbelievably fair. I'd just like to shake her out of that numb trance she'd go into. Just shake some freaking sense into her. And then the tears came. Shortly after they subsided, the epiphany arrived. It made him laugh, genuinely. It was the laughter of relief that we sometimes get when we finally understand why something is really bothering us. He said, "This sounds pretty far-fetched and like that psychobabble I hate, but it's the goddamn unfairness of life that just pisses me off so much. That you got the Queen of Spades bad luck. That bad luck of being the one person in the crowd who gets crapped on by a pigeon. That cursed luck of getting dealt those assholes from the parenting deck." Oh my God. Side note, this is how I use a deck of cards to describe my family situation. I always say I keep drawing the Joker. Wow, this guy is very much like me. It's so goddamn unfair. Dad and Mom's unfairness was fucking legendary. And that jerk on the freeway making a lane change without signaling was unfair too. I mean, if I hadn't seen him, I could have gotten into a serious accident. But if I'm honest, it wasn't really all that bad. I had plenty of time to adjust and would have been a lousy driver myself if I hadn't. But, I mean, it was still dangerous though. But nothing compared to growing up in that house. Now that was pure, unadulterated danger for you. I guess my rage was mostly about how unfair it was that I had to grow up in that sorry excuse for a home. Road rage and the less intense irritations we experience with our fellow drivers are common forms of outer critic transference. When we become more mindful of our driving frustrations or other minor everyday annoyances, we can look below the tip of the iceberg for old, unexpressed anger and hurt that it reminds us of. I encourage you to experiment with this next time you are inordinately angry at some driver for a relatively minor driving mistake. You can try asking yourself, what is this situation or feeling reminding me of? In the next chapter, we will explore more deeply the process of grieving through the old hurts that we discover when we get to the bottom of our flashbacks. All right. So the sun is going to be setting soon. Look at the sky. Again, absolutely zero chemtrails ever. This natural, beautiful clouds and birds flying. So yeah, I've done tennis racket work in therapy, and to be honest, it's difficult for me. It's difficult for me to do it with somebody else there. Now, this is supposed to be the healing, a healing aspect, being supported and witnessed and validated in it, but it's very difficult for me. I just feel very collapsed and defeated. But I can get there sometimes. And the idea of the tennis racket on the cushion, it's like very satisfying. It makes this whack sound, and it will not, because you're hitting a cushion, it's not going to damage your hand. And yeah, I also, I tried this yesterday, thinking about the cat and the computer issue that drove me insane. You can check out that video previously if you'd like. It's the one before this one. And I actually I don't know, the tennis racket thing doesn't work for me. I use a skipping rope. I'll hold the skipping rope and I'll just whip something soft. And yeah, it's very cathartic. And then I start to express, and release the unfairness. There was just so much unfairness in my childhood. And even what this guy talks about, like, where is that defensiveness that mothers are supposed to have for their children, right? I have so much anger and despair and disappointment around that. So reading this and returning back to this has reminded me, there is work that we can do. I don't think we can ever become fully, quote unquote, healed from these kind of injuries, but we can turn down the temperature, we can dial down the intensity. And I think another huge part of that is like filling your life with really good things and trying to reduce the irritating things. I used to have super ridiculous ass bad road rage when I lived in Calgary. Everything pissed me off, just like this guy. Literally everything. If someone was driving too fast, it pissed me off. If they're driving too slow, it pissed me off. If they were driving exactly the speed limit, that would piss me off. So I've been there, but I haven't driven. I mean, I drove a bit when I was on the farm in Montana, but like really not a whole lot. And that was out in the country, so there was like nobody to piss me off. But I haven't really driven now in maybe 3 years. And that's been great. Like I haven't really, but I still need to work on those issues. So I think the thing that causes the angering and the unfairness and the upset in me is dealing with neighbors, or like seeing poor children here in Mexico. I see it a lot. And at first I would like give them stuff, but then I noticed they just go and give it to their grifting parents, and that would make me so angry. I'm like, You use your children to, and so, yeah. And then, yeah, anyway. So that's where I'm at with this. You know, it's still a beautiful night. And, yeah, thanks for listening. Any thoughts or comments, leave them below. Anything else you want me to read from this book, any particular chapters, let me know. You can also find this book as a free PDF online if you're unable to afford it. However, I do recommend keeping this book on hand as a Bible if you grew up in a dysfunctional household, which honestly, if you're raised by baby boomers, you most definitely did. We don't know if it's the lead paint or the environment they grew up in, but the boomers are off their rocker. You know what I mean? So it's on us to get it straight. And it's okay if it's not perfect. I'm proud of us. Proud of you.